Hey everybody, this is Chad Jordan. I'm the Director of Marketing for Digital Services here at Sport Clips. Have a very special Hall of Fame episode today, and you'll see why as it unfolds. But before we get there, I want to welcome today's guest. If I could have her say both her name and the store that she is co-managing right now.
My name is Shayne, and NJ204, Mays Landing, New Jersey.
So she's a Jersey girl. I'm here at the Jersey Shore area. And today's podcast is going to be a series that we're going to do called Survive and Advance, which is, if anybody follows college basketball, it goes with the March and April tournament. It doesn't matter how a team wins. They just have to win and keep moving on. Survive and Advance becomes the motto. And so what we're going to be looking at through the series of these upcoming podcasts is people that have overcome adversity, especially in the realms of addiction. And Shayne is one of my heroes. I've heard her story a time or two. We're social media buddies, and I've drawn encouragement from her. So when we found out we were going to both be near the same place at the same time, we realized this would be a perfect opportunity to check in on her recovery, on her story a little bit, and we're hoping that people will draw strength from this and find sources of inspiration. Maybe you know someone who needs to get clean, who needs help, who needs to recover, or maybe you yourself are that and you're looking for just that extra little oomph to get going. So that's why we have Shayne here today. So thank you, Shayne, for being here.
Of course.
Before we get to by the way, I just want to put this out here. This is probably an adults only kind of session. If you got kids and you're listening in the car, we might talk about some things that you might not want them getting exposed to yet. But speaking of children, I've got 3, and you've got a couple,
two boys.
And I was going to say little, but one of them.
One's 12,
yeah,
Revan,
like
and
a weed.
Gannon is 3.
And it feels like they literally are your son. Your Earth orbits around these guys, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
they're at the center of everything that you do, and so I love that. I love your passion as a mom for them. So how is it being a mom and managing and handling? You just moved into a new home recently and all this stuff. How's it going? Your motherhood and your career at Sport Clips. How's all that going? First and foremost.
It's all about balance. Mm-hmm. It's not easy, definitely. Yeah. I work a lot of overtime. Some weeks we're short-staffed, or the manager is the one that steps up. So,
and the most requested stylist at her store, his or her store usually. So you gotta line out the door usually.
So my kids are my world, but I don't have anything to support them without my job. Mm-hmm. So I'm also passionate about the work that I do. And my clients are like my friends, my family. I look forward to seeing them every day. And it's just balance. You have to make time for everything. Yeah. Schedule, and I have a village that helps a lot.
Yeah, you do. You've got a great store, team members. You've got a co-manager.
Yep.
Shout out.
She's with me, Lauren.
Okay,
Woo!
Shout out to Lauren. And can you speak a little bit, before we get into some of the tougher questions here, a little bit about the relationship with your team leader and how that kind of plays into the balance that you've been able to find?
She's definitely like my second mom. I got hired before the store was open, which I didn't even know when I got hired. I was like, all right, when do we start? And she's like, well, we're building it. Like, oh, okay. But I always say we grew up in Sport Clips together. Like, she knows way more about business than maybe I ever will. But I just draw strength from her, and I learn from her. And is
she a stylist by trade, or
no? She's an accountant by trade.
Okay, sorry, we didn't mean to laugh at your margin.
But, that's her favorite line when it's full and she can't help. She tells the clients, "I'm sorry, I can't cut hair. I can't cut hair." But she is there through everything. She's been to my wedding. She's come to my housewarming parties. She watches my kids. She's not just my boss, for sure.
I don't think she just watches your kids. I think she spoils your kids.
Yeah,
I've
she
seen
takes
pictures
good
of
care
her.
of them.
They've been on the beach. You've
Yeah.
been working. They're at the beach.
Yeah.
They're at amusement parks together. It seems
Yeah.
like they. It's a really close bond. So
Yeah.
that's so sweet. So special to see.
Definitely. I'm blessed. I'll never leave. I told her today, because we were talking about passwords and people leaving, and I said, I'm retiring from Sport Clips. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So
No, it's great that you guys have such a connection.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into the story a little bit, because you're we won't say your age. You're in your 30s. You say you're not a millennial, but I would disagree. But looking back, first of all, do you ever think you'd be here? You'd be alive at this stage in your life, that
No.
you'd be flourishing in a career.
No.
So why not? Tell me a little bit about your story, about your background, about what you've come from.
I've been through a lot of things, but the thing that I thought would take me was definitely heroin. I was addicted for about, I'd say, give or take 5 years.
Wow.
Solid. Before that, dabbling. I've been clean for 7 years now, so there's a lot of people
What's the date that you celebrate every year?
July 8th,
Okay.
2000.
Okay. But
Okay.
that's your anniversary.
July 8th.
That's your your sober
July
anniversary
8th.
date. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And so back so now we're looking 12 years ago, right? So it was 5 years addicted.
Yeah.
7
right
years
after I had
sober.
my first son, I started
Okay.
taking pain pills.
Okay. So that was going to be my question. What without getting into all the details,
Yeah.
what was the trigger? What,
I had taken them before. I was a partier. I grew up in the woods. We hung out in barns and drank and got, just whatever we had. We had, for most people, that's experimenting, and that's fun, and that's what it was until it wasn't. After I had my first son, I had a lot of back pain, and somebody gave me some pills and that I had never had before, and
were they prescription pills that they had given you?
They were not
or?
my prescription, but
Okay,
they were
all right.
somebody.
Yeah,
they were somebody's
So at the time, you're
prescription.
able to justify, well, I can take these. They're just pain meds.
And I had taken them before, here and there. I had been prescribed them after I had my son, too, from the hospital. And then it was take one, you feel good. Take one the next day, you feel good. Take one the next day, you feel good. And the next day you wake up and you don't have any more and you're sick.
Yeah.
So it progressed from there.
Sick of the thought of I need something to get me through this.
Yeah, because you feel so good when you're taking them. So then when you don't have them, you don't know how to feel good without them.
Yeah, this big void and the pain's intensified, right?
Yeah,
it's like
because
worse.
your body can't produce it anymore.
Right.
You kind of run it ragged.
So obviously you don't go from pain pills to heroin overnight.
No.
So can you walk us through what that journey was like? Maybe the signs that you should have. Now looking back, you're like, man, I'm such a knucklehead. Why didn't I see that? But take us through that journey of getting from the pain pills. Now, like you said, you don't have one. So and then that road to heroin addiction.
So I was taking pills for a couple years. I would stop for a little bit. They were just so accessible then.
Were they affecting any part of your life? Like
when I was taking the pills, I hit it really well. I was a stay-at-home mom, so
I was gonna say, you weren't a stylist at this point in your life?
I still was cutting hair. I've been licensed for 14 years.
Okay.
I did it while I was in high school. But after I had my son, I stayed home. His father wanted me to, so I didn't have to worry about not showing up to work, so that didn't get affected. I didn't live with my parents anymore. I was able to maintain functionality and just hide it. I was super mom, super wife, not wife at the time, but I was taking care of everything because I had all this energy from the pills.
Now, you say you were hiding it very well. In retrospect, were you? Did other people say, we knew you had a problem, we just didn't know how to confront you?
I think in the beginning, maybe the first year or two, I was able to hide it because I didn't really see my family too much. Like it was just family events or whatever. So I'm sure my son's father's mom, who I live with, knew something was going on. But if you were to have asked me then, no way, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Like, I thought I was going to be able to take them forever. And
So you didn't see a problem at the time. You thought, this is how I'm going to cope with this pain.
Yeah.
And I can manage this.
Yeah, because I was good at life, quote unquote, at the time. So I thought, like, all right, I found the answer. Like, this is how I'm going to be okay.
Are doctors prescribing them, or are you still getting them from a secondary source?
I would get a lot of different prescriptions. Stimulants,
legally.
stimulants, downers, pain pills, and then, of course, off the street as well. And then I used to make fun of junkies, as I called them.
Yeah.
And would, oh my God, I would never, ever do that. That's gross. That's street drugs. Like, I wouldn't do that. I did get clean for a little while, and I met an ex, and he was not recovering but not using, and he introduced me to heroin, and he was doing it.
Was that really your first introduction to a hard drug?
I had tried it one time before, way back in my experimental, like, high school. Then I didn't like it at all. So that was the first time that I had done that with him. And
what about it this time convinced you this needs to be part of my life?
Probably because I was used to the feeling I got from pills, and it was close. It mimicked that.
Yeah, and you're chasing that next.
Yeah.
Buzz is the wrong word when it comes to that kind of stuff.
It changes the paths in your brain.
Yep.
Once you're addicted to it, the paths just cross each other, and the chemicals change, and it feels right.
It's not a joke, but in my household, it's well known. I love me some Mountain Dew. And so we will often talk about, think how hard it is for me to go one day without it, almost impossible.
Yeah.
I crave it.
Yeah.
The taste. I feel like, how far away am I from my nearest 7-Eleven or a refrigerator
that
has Mountain Dew? So is that what addiction is like? Is it a part of, is it panic? Like, if you can't get your hands on it?
Oh my God. Like, multiply what you feel probably by a million. Yeah. There's no way to describe it without having gone through it.
Yeah.
There's no question you're going to get it.
What were, now looking back, what were the signs that you're getting in too deep?
I got arrested. That was first, like, hello, I'm doing something wrong.
Okay. Arrested while shooting up, while buying?
I wasn't. I actually got arrested right before I started doing heroin. Okay. I got arrested with a pharmacy in my purse. All different kinds of pills. And I was also doing meth at that time. So I was really, really, really crazy and doing stupid things in a public place. Actually, less than a mile away from where I work now. So I had...
Whoa, do you drive by that ever on
I was
your
at
route?
the tanning salon. I don't tan anymore, but I have gone there after. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I got clean where I used. So, so I got arrested, and I got put on PTI, pretrial intervention. It's a gift from the courts. If you complete it, you don't have anything on your record. If you mess up, you're screwed, which is what I did.
Okay.
I got clean, started using heroin, knowing that I was going to probably
that was
get
chasing
caught.
You the whole time.
Yeah.
You're looking over your shoulder knowing. Right.
Yeah, so I, diluted drug tests. I got away with it for a while. My older son's father called DIFUS, so I had DIFUS.
What is that?
Is that? It's different from state to state, I guess. What they call like Child
Protective
Services,
Child Welfare Services or something. Okay.
So I had a case.
What's going on with you as a mom of a toddler at this point? I mean, what is your?
I had shared custody with his dad, and his dad was more always like a friend, and his mom, he lived with his mom, so I knew he was okay with her, so he spent a lot of time with her. And when I was good, I was fine with him, and I still did all the things I do now as a real good mom, attentive, playful, make sure he's fed, dressed, bathed, all of that stuff. But when I was sick, I was a different person.
Yeah.
I didn't take care of him.
And so this is now 7-8 years ago. Do you does he ever bring up anything?
We talk. We're very open with each other.
All right.
Yeah.
Walk me through that. Now that you're in recovery, you're in your full mode 7 years sober. How has the relationship as a mom been able to rebound, get repaired? Help me understand that dynamic.
He's an old soul, and
tough and strong and everything that you want him to be, and so when you have these conversations with him, is he lashing out ever? Is he blaming? Or is he?
His dad passed away from heroin overdose. So
the fact that he has you still in his life, that cements it for him. That no, I'm the lucky one because I have mom.
Yeah, he tells me he's proud of me.
Yeah, I love that. And your littlest one, he's only known you this way. He's only known you sober.
Thank God.
And so I see your guys' connection.
Yeah,
so,
he's a mama's boy.
So, talking about your son, your oldest, was he your motivation then for getting clean, or was it I don't want to be in jail the rest of my life? Like what finally convinced you I can't keep living this life?
Unfortunately, no matter how much you love somebody, whether it's your kid, which is obviously the greatest love, your kid, the person that you're married to, your parents, it doesn't. I can't think of the word, not precedes, but over. Yeah. It goes over top of that love. It doesn't matter how much you love somebody. Yep. It's just not a factor. And you get to the point where
I never knew that. So you're telling me that bond isn't enough to get somebody clean.
It's not. So, for some people, maybe.
Well, the reason I find that so interesting is because I've got people in my life, family members, that were like, why can't they just get, like, look what they have in us as family members. Yeah. How come are we not good enough? I say the same
thing when I see it with other people. It's very hard to understand
and
unless
it breaks our heart thinking, do they not love us enough?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that.
Okay, so what does it take?
You get to the point where, number one, you don't know how to get clean, so you keep getting high because when you're sick, you're a bad mom or a bad friend or a bad daughter, so you have to be high to be functional, so that keeps you using because you don't have another choice. I did ask to go to rehab after I was using heroin for about a year. I asked my dad because I had a son, so I needed someone to take him for a month. So I begged to go to rehab, and I went for a month, and I was good for a while, but I didn't do the work on myself that you need to do. It's an inside job. You have to fix your soul. You have to change everything that you used to do, and I didn't do that.
And is this a rehab like you went and you stayed there?
I stayed there for a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know what those inpatient.
Inpatient.
Okay, inpatient. Yeah. So but voluntary? You
voluntary.
Weren't, it's not like you're mandated.
No, not at that point. The Child Protective had wanted me to do outpatient, and I couldn't stay clean to pass those drug tests, so I knew I needed to be inpatient. So I did stay clean for maybe about 6 months that time and relapsed. And
are you relapsing into pain pills, or are you just going
straight heroin?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pain pills at that point were too expensive. It wasn't an option, and I was an IV user at that point. So the sniffing something wasn't an option. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and that was it. There wasn't a question. Once that thought goes into your head, if you don't have the tools in your toolbox and you don't play the tape out, you're going for it. And it's like that overwhelming, you can't shut that voice up.
Tools. What are the tools for you? Are they different for everybody?
For me, well, let me backtrack.
Okay.
Because after that, I relapsed. I kept using. At this point, I was on probation.
Is your dad done with you at this point? He's like giving you enough chances? Okay.
No, he wasn't. He always was there.
Okay.
I was on probation. Trying to think back. There's so many layers of the story. So I was on probation. I was kind of hiding from them, passing drug tests by faking it. And my probation officer had come looking for me, and I also started stealing to support my habit.
And you already had a record that you didn't keep clean, or are you?
Yeah, with probation, you're going to have that charge.
Okay.
You can get it expunged later, but I had like 4 felony charges. So
Now, are you stealing from friends and family, or are you breaking and entering?
I robbed my mother blind, all of her jewelry that I could get my hands on.
Oh, wow.
I stole money from my parents. Both of them, they were divorced, but I separately stole money from them. I stole from stores all the time. That's what I got caught doing. I had a felony charge. And at that point, it wasn't really about needing the stuff. It was fill me up with anything to take me out of myself.
Yeah.
All the, like, getting high wasn't enough. I needed something else. It was this, like, void, just black, open, empty. And it was fill it with feelings, rushes, any type of way I could get. So you
didn't want to be alone with yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
You didn't like what was in there, and the thought
of
having to face yourself and deal with those. So,
I wasn't the person that I was supposed to be, used to be, anything. There was just a shell.
Yeah.
So I got arrested for that, and that was another felony charge. So
you're not a minor anymore at that point, right? Yeah.
Oh, no, I never was. Yeah. When I started really using, I was 20.
So this is serious business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To me at the time, I didn't think it was.
Hey, you're still a kid,
It wasn't anything
I got my
to
whole
me.
life.
Yeah, it was really like I just played it off like it wasn't a big deal. And for getting that charge, I violated probation, which is a no bail warrant. So once they find you, you don't get out until they say you can get out. Mm-hmm. So the sheriffs came into my apartment and took me. So that was, some people have that moment of clarity, or they asked to go to rehab like I did before. That wasn't enough for me. That was my bottom.
Yeah.
And I had every single person I was with that day is dead. All of them.
What that you were partying with or hanging with, or so you're literally the last one standing.
Yeah.
So that was my question that I always am interested in. That was your rock bottom. Was that your rock bottom moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And would you say that an addict has to hit rock bottom and recognize that it's their rock bottom in order to eventually rebound, or could you hit it and just scrape by and eventually recover?
I wouldn't say that they have to have that instant, because if I were to say that night instantly, I was like, I'll never do this again.
Okay.
It wasn't there. When I woke up the next morning, I still wasn't sure where I was at. And for a couple weeks after that, the desire doesn't go away. I wanted to go home and use what I knew was left in my room. It took probably like a month and a half before I got offered my choices. And I decided...
You're locked up this whole time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. They offered me a year in jail or drug court, which is usually a 5-year program. And at that point, thankfully, because I knew I could get out in a couple months and be on parole, but I knew what I was going to do.
Yes.
So I had to sign up for like a lifetime commitment of being in the system or go and die. That was my 2 options. So thankfully, I sat for a while before they even offered it to me, because if they had done it sooner, I would have picked to just get out as quick as I could.
And gone right back and been like the rest of your friends are at this point.
Yeah.
There's no way you're here.
Yeah.
No way you survive if you had taken that other option.
Yeah, for sure. I firmly believe that.
So you hit your rock bottom. It's in a jail cell eventually, and you start a 5-year. What was it you were telling me?
I think that I ended up graduating a little bit early because I had probation time in, so they tacked that on for me. But it was like a 3.5-year program.
Okay. And are they the ones who taught you? Had mentioned tools in your toolbox.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So walk me through that whole analogy and what they're teaching you while you're there.
Okay. So anyone that thinks drug court is a setup, it's a gift. It's a gift because treatment is so hard to get and it's so hard to pay for. It's so expensive. So they pay for everything. Wow. It's a gift. It really is. And of course you have to pay your fines and stuff, but you don't pay back nearly what they pay for you to get I went to a 30-day treatment. I was in jail for like 4 months, and they...
Is this county lockup or where?
Yeah,
I mean, okay.
county, yeah. I went to inpatient for 30 days. I went to a halfway house for 3.5 months, and that is pretty much where I learned to live, because you have to cook dinner, you have to help take care of all the women living there. You go and get a job. I worked at 7-Eleven.
Oh,
it was
all the
fun.
Mountain Dew you could
drink.
drink.
It was fun. Yeah, I got
Oh.
free stuff. I brought stuff home for the girls every night.
Are you cutting hair? They say, you know, all
I cut hair in jail.
okay.
Yeah, I was getting like noodles and pies and all that stuff. I never stopped cutting hair. I still, and as soon as you tell a group of girls that you know how to cut hair,
yes.
that's the first thing they want you to do is cut their hair. So I was always still cutting hair, and working at 7-Eleven. So I did,
dream job.
yeah, it was a dream job at that point. I think going through what I went through, everything was a gift, because I didn't have anything. I didn't even have a fork in jail. You weren't allowed to have a fork. You didn't have anything. You saved everything. Everything that you got, you saved. You hoarded, because you just didn't have anything. So you might need, like MacGyver, everything, you know? So being in the halfway house taught me how to live. Meetings, NA, AA, whatever your flavor is, they all work. Getting a sponsor, working the steps. And step work, it's easy to just say, oh, work the steps, but step work is God first, and then you work on yourself. You have to
some higher power.
Find a higher power. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be God. For me, it's God. It's the universe. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. But for some people, it can be their hero. It can be a tree that's giving light. It can be anything, but you have to believe there's something greater than yourself that is ultimately has its hands in what's going on. So I firmly believe
things
that.
Out. Yeah.
So that's first. Then you have to do the work on yourself. All the resentments of anybody that ever hurt you, down to like the 3rd grade bully. Everybody. You have to write it all out. You have to build relationships with people that have been doing it longer than you, and sponsorship.
So are you and your sponsor still communicating? Is that something
I do not attend meetings. I did do it for probably like 4.5 years, very, very, very regularly. In the beginning, when I got out of the halfway house, I got a job at a salon under the table because I had let my license lapse. So if you don't have a job on the books with drug court, they make you do 5 meetings a week. So for 6 months, I was working full time, going to drug court once a week. It was an all-day thing. 5 meetings a week plus 3 3-hour IOP, which is intensive outpatient sessions a week. So all of that. Just constant. And I do believe that some people can stay in NA forever. It works for them. More power to them. I took what I needed. I always tell people it re-raised me, because I was raised well, but then I forgot everything. I lost myself.
Unraveled.
Yeah, everything. So I was re-raised in the rooms of NA and having like lots of support from women and guidance and counseling and all of that stuff. I didn't do it to make it my life. I did it to get my life back. So I felt like I was to a point where I didn't need to go anymore. And God willing, I know where I can go if I need to.
What's happening while you're in jail, while you're in the halfway house? Are you getting visitations from your son?
When I was in jail, I opted for him not to come.
Because he's how old at that point?
5.
Okay.
Yeah, he was 5 years old. He started kindergarten while I was in jail.
Oh.
I didn't want him to see me through glass. I just didn't want that image ever. So he didn't see me. I talked to him every day on the phone, but he didn't see me at all. And then,
do you tell him at this point what's going on with mommy?
He knew where I was.
Okay.
Yeah, he knew where I was. At that point, he probably was just like, he was there in the apartment complex when the cops came to get me. And they were very nice to me. They treated me great. They let me get my stuff together, let me say goodbye to him and everything. But they actually waited.
Were you high at the time?
Of course. Okay. Yeah, there wasn't a time when I wasn't high, except when I was knotted out on my chest.
Yeah.
But they let me walk down the sidewalk so he didn't see me in handcuffs. Like, they waited till I got to the car.
That's amazing.
But obviously, cops are here
Yes.
and mom's leaving. He knew something. I did something bad. He's seen cops on TV, you know. Of course, at that point, I couldn't really explain to him, but he knew that things were not good. I saw him while I was in rehab. He had visits while in the halfway house. And then for about 2 years, I had signed over temporary custody while I was in jail. And his dad had custody on paper, but it was always his mom that was taking care of him. So it took me a while to feel like I was stable enough and had enough money, really, because kids aren't free. So a stable place, like, I had apartments, but I didn't want him to move from school to school. So that was home base. And I would drive him from Ocean City to Mays Landing every morning. Like, I had him a lot, but I didn't have custody of him. It wasn't like.
So how long is it before you feel you could trust yourself back as a full-time mom and being available in that way? Was it right away the minute you got out of the halfway house, or did you have to get a better paying job? Do you have to prove to yourself, I can go X amount of days on the outside world?
The urge to use was lifted. Probably sometime while I was in jail. Probably around the time when I decided to take drug court. Something greater than me just took it because it was there. It was still there, and that's why I made that decision. Because I knew I still wanted to get high. But then I just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and it was just gone. I know I wouldn't have stayed gone if I didn't do everything I did after that. But there wasn't that desire. I've been around it multiple times. I don't recommend that. But in situations, you know, with an ex, with this person, with that person, and when you help people that are addicts, you're going to be around drugs at some point in time. So for me, I just didn't want to do it because I knew where it would take me. It wasn't just going to feel good at that moment, and that was going to be it. That's not an option for me.
Well,
I know.
What then is your armor? What's your safeguard when you're around all of this? I don't want to call it temptation because I don't feel like you're on the slippery slope.
No.
But you're around familiar demons.
Yeah.
So how do you put up with it when you're around it and say, you know, that's just dismiss it?
I play the tape out and just I don't ever forget how bad I was, because I know that every time I've relapsed, it doesn't like take me a while to get to the same point. I'm at that same point, pick up where I left off, and I get worse every single time. So I know there's not a one day option for me to just go have fun or whatever you would want to call it, besides the fact that I'm so scared of what is out there now. 7 years ago, it wasn't the same ingredient or chemical or whatever it is. Death wasn't as prevalent then as it is now. Not that it was okay then either. I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Like, I get sick to my stomach thinking about even touching it, because I've heard of people overdosing from touching the wrong stuff. So fear, you know, it's not fear-based, but I'm
a good
scared.
motivator. Yeah,
I'm scared to even touch it, besides the fact that I don't want to. But I have a lot of people in my life that I've attended meeting with. Either they still attend or they don't, but we still have that same bond and we're still clean together. I'm very transparent, like extremely. Okay. And I don't mince my words. I don't hide my story. And I think that helps. That secrets keep you sick. So I have a lot of people rooting for me.
Do you feel like, and we're going to wrap this up here in a little bit, and we're going to wrap it up on a high note, by the way, a good note. No pun intended there. But did you feel like when you were addicted, were you blaming others for your addiction? Was it something inwardly? Did you ever feel like they got me into this, or?
Not particularly. I think that some people can party and then wake up the next day and go to work, and all week they're fine, and then the weekends they party. I don't blame. I didn't have to say yes to anything. I made the conscious choice to use whatever I was using at the time. Of course, at that time, I justified the hell out of it and blamed people in the way, like, I can take what I want because they did this and they don't even care about me.
Right.
And I justified a lot of
what I'm worried about,
things. Yeah, but I don't blame anybody. If you blame people, I just learned this last week from somebody. If you blame people, even if they fix it, you're still holding on to that. Like, but I know what you did and I'm still blaming you. It's hurting you. Like,
Right.
The resentments, that's fourth step. You got to let go of all the resentments. And I still do that on a daily basis. You have to. I need to keep peace in myself. Forgiveness is not for other people. It's for you, because you have to walk around with it. You could hate somebody and they don't even know, and you're hurting over it. So I just, the daily reprieve. Everything I learned in meetings and the program itself is still here. Just because I don't go, I still know everything that I learned and I use it.
What's the best tool in your toolbox? Your go-to tool?
Humility. Humility is probably the biggest one.
Can you explain that a little bit for me?
Like I said earlier, just never forgetting where I'm only one bag away all the time from where I was, and I'm snapping my fingers. It'll go that quick. I can't forget, and I do forget sometimes because life is good now.
Right.
So it's easy to just say, like, I got this, like, I'm fine, but I can't ever forget that. And my second one would be my peoples that I talk to. I vent and vent and vent and talk and talk and talk and talk, because that's where the answer always lies. I can usually answer my own questions if someone listens to me long enough. So
I like it. All right. Before I wrap this up, you got nothing to be ashamed about.
Thanks.
A lot to be proud about.
Thank you.
And we're proud of you.
Thanks.
What are you most proud about, given where you're at this point in your life?
I feel kind of shallow saying a material thing, but probably being a homeowner.
No, you're sitting in jail 10 years ago, and you're thinking, a decade from now, you're going to be a homeowner.
I wanted to die.
Yeah,
I didn't want to live, so. So everything really is a gift, because I didn't even think that I deserved. Like, I was hoping every time I got high that I would die. So anything now was like, wow, look at that. But I have a big home and it's beautiful, and I have a huge backyard and my kids love it and they're happy.
And you can see deer.
Yes. I have like 15 deer in my backyard. Every day I have chickens.
You have a pool.
I have a pool.
That you can now swim in.
Yeah, it took a lot of work.
Had some chemical issues heading into the summer, but she figured it out.
Yeah.
It's
a good life.
It is. You made it a good life. And it certainly could have gone a number of different ways.
Yeah, I'm not a statistic.
You're not. Let's hope you become a new statistic of the survivors, and that dominates.
I hope that number keeps increasing.
Can I always ask 10 questions at the end of a podcast. I'd like to do it today too.
Okay.
I can't ask follow-up questions like I have been.
Okay.
I just got to ask them. I don't think you know these questions. So are you ready?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and then we'll finish with this. Okay.
Okay.
Which superpower would you most like to have?
Invisibility.
Visibility. What is your personal motto?
Stay strong.
Stay strong. Other than where you live now, which you've just talked about how amazing it is.
Actually, I want to change my personal motto.
Okay.
I got this.
I got this.
That is.
All
it's
right.
on my bracelet.
Okay.
I can't believe it didn't come
it's
to
not
me
a tattoo?
first.
Not yet. It's not a tattoo.
No, I have a lot of words on me. Not
hashtag
that,
I got
I have
this.
no regrets on my foot.
All right. Other than where you live now, where else in the world would you most like to live? You have the whole world to choose from.
I'm a homebody. I don't want to go anywhere else. Is that an option?
Yeah, heck yeah, it's an option.
That's my serenity.
Yeah. Who is a celebrity you'd most like to meet one day?
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Deadpool. Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
Like, literally.
Wait till you see the transcript for this podcast. We probably had a number of those. Which sound or noise do you love?
My kids laughing.
Which sound or noise do you hate?
Them screaming.
I was gonna say them fighting.
Yeah,
all right. What profession other than your own would you have been good at, or at least have wanted to try?
A lawyer for sure.
I was thinking 7-Eleven owner.
Oh, I don't want to own anything. I know that side of things.
What do you consider your greatest achievement?
My babies.
And if heaven indeed exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I'm glad you made it.
Well, we're glad you made it. Glad you made it here. Glad you're part of Sport Clips. We could have gotten into so many different things, how you got to Sport Clips, how you got hired, but I basically wanted to hear from you on your heart, on how you're here, and we love you and appreciate the time today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody. We'll do this again, and that's been another edition of the Sport Clips Hall of Fame podcast. Hope you tune in next time. Bye-bye.